Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome back to another captivating episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, your host with most, Phil Better. And today we have a guest whose resilience, innovation, and dedication to helping others truly sets him apart in the world of our digital entrepreneurship. Our guest today is a digital entrepreneur since the age of 16, another OG in the world, starting the online gaming space with friends. Our guest's journey sees him flipping websites, selling advertising space, and running live events. His impressive career includes building market automation campaigns for billion-dollar brands and developing platforms and mobile apps. In 2020, he faced a life-altering challenge when he broke his neck playing rugby, one of the safer sports that the UK citizens decide to play. He also coupled with losing 50% of his business due to COVID, which we all know was a great time for entrepreneurship. He was forced to redesign his business approach, rising from those challenges. Our guest focused on leveraging and using his extensive skills and expertise to help others achieve their goal. He's, of course, the author of the best-selling book, Finally Find Freedom. Changing all the words here. No, it's Finally Find Freedom in the self-help space. And he specializes in helping female coaches and course creators overcome their technical headaches to save them time and earn more. Today, he's going to share his remarkable journey, his insights on leveraging technology for business, success, and practical advice for entrepreneurs navigating their own challenges. Whether you're looking to streamline your business operations or find inspiration in the face of adversity, this episode is going to be packed with valuable insights and lessons and, of course, motivation. So please put your hands together for a fellow Philip, Mr. Philip Wride. Philip, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And what an introduction.
I try. I always look at myself. I never could be a rap star because, I'm pigmentally challenged. But I always love to hype people because they always got the crowd going. So that's how I look at it. This is my own stage. I'm the hype guy. You're the rap star or the celebrity, the star, whatever you want to be called. So I got to hype you up to make sure you're coming in at 11 so that the audience gets all the wisdom.
Some of us were just born at 11.
No, I'm sorry. Well, that's Phil. We usually always start at 11 and go higher, right? This is going to be a very braggadocious episode if you're called Philip, because we're just going to be loving the Phils here. But Philip,
is that Phils or is that feels?
It's a bit of both, because Phil makes us feel better. But hey, there we go. Philip, I want to know, why did you start becoming an entrepreneur at the age of 16 instead of, chasing skirts, as the old boomers used to say?
Great question. It really comes down to passion. So I started in the online space at 16. I managed to get a dial-up modem and a cable running across, hallway from office into bedroom and all those things, and hoping that nobody would phone and that it would disconnect. And, if you were around in those days, you'll know what I'm talking about. And playing with friends online. So it was online gaming. It was that passion to say, oh, this is something new and exciting. Let's explore it. Let's see what I can do. So it started with playing with friends at school, but that then became writing for some of the news portals and getting involved in the community and saying, okay, what else can I do? Started running my own live events and tournaments. And then, somebody's selling something. Okay, maybe I can buy that. Bought a couple of websites. Started building the audience around them, started flipping them, started selling advertising to other people. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Let's see if I can do more. So it wasn't a sort of a formal entry to entrepreneurship. It wasn't really a conscious decision. It was more about following that passion of, oh, this is interesting. Before that point, if we think 16 in the UK, I'm not sure if it's the same in the US, it was heading towards GCSEs. So it's the first sort of major set of qualifications. And I'd been playing sport all of the time. And then this gaming, the online side of gaming grabbed me because it was all new and exciting. So it was like, I want to spend the time, put the energy into this and see what happens, explore it. where can it go? So yeah, it was an interesting period because it was very early days within that space. It was the Wild West compared with the news reports that you see now and the growth of the industry to what is esports today, and $2 billion in revenue and things. But yeah, I think it all comes back down to that passion and wanting to explore. And I'm back in that position now. So we'll touch on this later, but the pivots that I've made recently since the injury, I'm now back into that space of, let's explore. Let's have some conversations. Let's see what happens. Let's see what I can do, rather than what I've been doing for the past 20 years. It's like, okay, I've ticked some boxes there. That's fine. Maybe it's time to do something different.
I love that. I love how you were just like, I'm passionate about stuff and I just want to learn more. And then all of a sudden the passion leads you down this crazy world of entrepreneurship. And then you're like, how did I get here? I was just playing video games 20 minutes ago with, the buds. So when you started down, like you're playing the video games and you're like, oh, these websites are flipping and then I'm selling things. Who was it that was like, you can make a life out of this? Like, how did you decide, or how did you figure out that there is a possibility to live your authentic life? You can find the freedom by doing stuff online. Did you have a mentor that you followed, or was it just like haphazardly come to the point where you're like, oh, this is actually a career?
It was haphazard. So at that point, yeah, I didn't have a mentor. It was, see what happens. Oh, maybe let's try something. It was an interesting journey. Obviously, at that time, I mentioned it was very early days. There wasn't a lot of structure there to the space as a whole, which also meant that, yes, it was sometimes easier to try things because nobody had either thought of them, or there wasn't much competition with what you were trying to do. And I think rather than me realizing that maybe it's something that I can build a career in, and for transparency, yes, I have had corporate jobs as well, and then I've still done side hustles and been an entrepreneur in the side and switched back and forth between corporate and being fully in on myself and building something. But I think that the biggest thing for me, rather than saying, okay, maybe I can make a career out of this, I think it was more the feeling. You mentioned it, the freedom. Freedom has always been my highest level value. So having those experiences of being able to explore the variety of things that I could get involved in, being able to manage my time in a different way outside of, okay, school requirements. Okay, great. What is it that I want to get involved in? How do I want to use my time? I think that's been the biggest thing that's stuck with me throughout all the years is entrepreneurship affords us that opportunity.
I love that. And I don't want to jump too much into the future because I know COVID and 2020 was a huge changing for you. So I want to stay just pre that events. When you were playing around, you started when you were 16. Was there, because like you said, you were just trying stuff, throwing thing against the wall. They stuck. I did it. Yay. Found the passion, got that freedom. Were you faced with adversity from others who were not used to this freedom that you were getting? Because if we look at, you have the 9-to-5ers who don't believe entrepreneurship is possible because they're like, no, you have to have money. The internet doesn't really make you money. It's all scams. Because we're about the same age. We grew up with the invention of the internet, with the dial-up modem, which still harks back to some trauma, that sound of connecting to the internet and hoping no one calls or mom doesn't pick up the phone. When you did go into the corporate world and you were still doing your hustles on the side, were you facing pushback from your colleagues, or were they more interested in what you were doing and how you were having these freedoms?
Good question. A lot of the time, they didn't really know. Because again, 9 to 5, I was present, and then it was what could I do in and around that? So it became more consulting and campaign work that I could fit in and around a 9 to 5. And there have been some interesting, I guess, pivot moments within that journey. So, okay, we've mentioned the earlier, flipping websites, doing my own events, the advertising, that sort of stuff. Straight out of university, 2007, rather than try and get a job, what did I decide? I'll set up a business. So now I'll actually formally create a business and see what I can do. So before it was more that passion thing of let's just explore, let's just see. 2007, I formalized, registered a business, set it up as an agency, providing consultancy services, campaign management, marketing type services within that games industry, because that's what I had the experience in. Managed to do that for 18 months, worked for some big clients, and then we had the 2008 and 9 financial crash. So it's like, great, okay, let's close that business and see what's next. And I had a quarter life crisis and took myself away to a beach for a month. Then got offered an opportunity and an interview at EA Sports, back into the games industry. And then I worked on the FIFA game for nearly 2 years. So it's been an interesting journey of that corporate and non-corporate. And obviously there's more instances of that throughout my career. But when I've been in that corporate space, I've ended up just adjusting what I've been doing in the background. So I've always had something going on. It's been more a case of what can I fit around that corporate so that I still feel like I'm doing something, I'm making progress, I'm working towards something, or I'm building something, because that's just the nature of who I am.
I love that. And since you were kind of like a pioneer, we'll talk about, you were kind of a pioneer in the esports industry. You were creating these live events that people were like, oh, video games, who's doing video games, right? Because, you know, when growing up and video games coming up, it's a waste of time, and now it's a $2 billion industry, which is kind of insanity. Did you face pushback from more conservative type business owners who were like, why are you doing video games? Video games is useless. It's a hobby. It's a game. You know, did you have those negative reactions from people when you told them what you were doing?
Yes. So the first set of negative reactions were from my parents, because they were like, what are you spending all your time doing? And it wasn't until I then started to get media coverage that suddenly that perception changed. Like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Fair enough. You know, you're in, print media, the newspapers that you pick up in the store, and you getting on TV and radio interviews. It's like, okay, maybe we'll just give you the time and space, see what happens. From a business perspective, yes, absolutely, there was pushback. And a lot of that, as entrepreneurs, we often face this if we're trying to build something. It's a lack of understanding. So you can understand your space and what it is that you do, but unless you can help the person you are selling to understand the value to them, it's a difficult conversation. So a lot of the time I spent educating the brands to say, look, it's an audience of people. This is what we spend our time doing. This is how we engage, this is the opportunity for you. Here's how you can get involved. And yeah, it was tough. A lot of them, again, depending on the nature of the company you were speaking to, I'm coming in those early days as a early 20-year-old guy saying, this is awesome. It's growing at a phenomenal rate. It's exciting. And if you were going into a company, and I know it's harsh to say, but you're speaking to a marketing director who's like 50, 60 years old, you get that blank expression because it's like, I don't understand what you are talking about. So that education process is something that we as entrepreneurs need to be aware of. We may have to go through that process. It may have to be something that we build into our sales cycles, depending on what it is that we are building and selling, because you need to get that prospect to feel comfortable understanding what it is that you do, how it's going to help them, and what that long-term value is.
It's very true. I love that. Especially when you're meeting blank-faced people when you're trying to explain the future, and they're like, no, this is the future. Like, no, that's the past. When COVID showed up and decided to kick pretty much everybody in the teeth and change the rules of how the world works, what was it? Did you take time off? Did you take another quarter life century event on the beach going, you know what, I'm going to just, COVID's here. I have to close down everything. You lost 50% of your business. People can't, in essence, come together for these esports events and everything that your business was doing. Did you take a step back and you're like, maybe this isn't for me? Even though there's this freedom that you got, because you hit two big events. You had the great recession of 2008, and then you got hit with the great lockdown of 2020. Like, were you worried that maybe the universe was telling you that, yo, Phil, you're doing a great job, but it's not for you. You're not in this space because I'm going to keep hitting you down?
Yes, and there are a couple of things that contributed to that. So, okay, COVID lockdowns were one, but my injury was, so if we look at a timeline, the injury happened in mid to late January 2020. Okay. I didn't know I'd broken my neck for 7 weeks. Okay. Because I just went to get physio. Granted, I couldn't move my neck, but all my muscles were stiff and tightened up to obviously protect the break. And I just thought, oh, it's just like I've done a really hard gym session. I've just pulled all the muscles. I just need to let them, give them some time. They'll ease off. So I went and got physio for 7 weeks because the rugby club, there was a physio available. 7 weeks later, the physio's like, yes, it's not really doing anything. Maybe you should go and get some scans. So I did. And the consultant's like, congratulations, you've broken your neck. C5, C6, we suggest maybe about 6 hours worth of surgery. We'll go in through the front, do a little bit, plate and screws, then maybe go in through the back, make sure that they're all in place, and you'll be good to go. And I was like, no. And not only do I not want that, I also can't afford it. And because I'd waited that 7 weeks, we're now into sort of March time. That's when the lockdown started to happen here in Dubai. So they started a lot earlier than most other places around the world. So the hospitals were also starting to shut down. So for me, that timeline of, okay, now I've got a broken neck to deal with. I'm not getting surgery, so I'm just putting faith in myself. Oh, the lockdowns have started to happen and everybody's canceling their marketing campaigns. Okay, there's half the business. See you later. It's like 2020 for me was tough. And I, again, grabbed whatever opportunities I could. And you hear stories, some people, they saw the opportunity, went online and made changes. For me, I wasn't in that headspace because I was like, I just need to survive right now. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until 2021 and I started a personal development journey that things started to change. One of the questions I was asked is, what impact and contribution have you made and what's going to be said at your funeral? Which, given that if that neck injury had been any worse, I could have been at that point. I could have been it. Game over. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe I need to think about this. And so the journey that I've been on, personal development that I've done, I now believe the universe does has a plan for us. We might not like it. We might not like the twists and turns, but I feel that, yes, there is something there. So your comments of the ups and downs that I've been through as an entrepreneur within that esports and gaming space, had I finally got to a point of maybe this isn't the thing for me? Yes. Because not only had I been in it for so long, seen the changes over time and, what the industry had come to be as it is now, I changed as a person. My perspective on everything had changed because of, 2020 and into 21. So I was looking for different things. I was now looking for how I could contribute, what it is that I could do, how I could help other people, rather than the big projects for the corporates, which I say this, I now have still one big project for a corporate currently within that old space, but all the rest of my time and energy is moving in a very different direction. Still as an entrepreneur, but building something different and helping people in a different way.
I like that. I like how even whenever you got hit with something, you look to see how you can pivot to become a better version of yourself. Especially when you get hit with, hey, you broke your neck. Good going. It's going to cost this amount and this amount of time off the world. When you decided, okay, you're going through your personal journey, you're redeveloping who you are as an individual. Was there a moment or was there an interaction that decided, hey, I'm going to focus, because you focus primarily with female entrepreneurs and dealing with the tech. And as someone who has boomer parents, I understand fully how the lack of understanding when it comes to technology. And I'm not saying female entrepreneurs don't know anything about technology, but I understand that there is a special understanding when it comes to someone who's been in the industry so long and understands how technology can help benefit us. When did you decide that you're going to pivot to helping female entrepreneurs, coaches, leverage technology to build their businesses better?
It's only been a couple of months. And I say that, I'm going to take you through the story because it's one of those, clearly the universe has a plan type moments. So if I think about the journey that I've been on from 2021, so after the injury, after the COVID lockdowns, starting the personal developments, thinking about impact and contribution, the first thing I did was maths resources based on video games because my partner is a teacher. And then I started supporting parents with managing screen time and online safety, because again, it's knowledge and experience that I had. That actually then led to writing the first book, and then doing some training for parents led to writing the second book and the model of the 12 chains. And starting on that and starting to promote it, again, a couple of projects came to me, because people who I'd known through what I'd been doing, you know, getting involved in coaching programs and masterminds and group communities and things like that. It's like, here's all my background. And they're like, so why are you not focusing on that? Okay, you want to have impact with your book and the model and the framework that you've created, because that can help people from a sort of a life coaching perspective. But you've got 20 years of tech experience. Why are you not using that to help people? So it's almost that proverbial enough people coming and slapping you in the face going, come on, you've got this experience. Why are you not using it? And then my mum came to me and says, like, I've just got a new job. What I pitched when I went for interview was they need a new website. So can you help me build it? And I'm like, of course I can. This will probably be the 4th time that I've either built a website for your business or for your employer's business. And some of the other projects that came to me were female coaches. So I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign. Maybe this is the plan that the universe has. So there are 3 main reasons that I'm focusing on the female coaches. One is, yes, the projects that I've done for my mum and other female coaches already. 2, putting the book out and the content that I have put out, it's generally been women who have connected better with that content and the content of the book. So most of the reviews on Amazon from women. So I don't know what it is, but there must be something about my persona that connects, which is great. Again, I'm not trying to stop that, but it may play into the 3rd reason, which is about energy. I personally feel a better connection with women in terms of energy match, being able to work together, because I think the life changes that I've made, conversations that I've had, being in the tech industry, being in video games, it is male heavy. So it's like, I've ticked that box. I know exactly what that's like. I am making changes in myself. I'm now viewing the world very differently. Conversations that I'm having, this energetically feels a lot better. So I'm leaning into that and saying, okay, if this is the universe, giving me a sign, let's explore that. Let's see how I can use those skills and experience to help that group of people.
I love that. And I love how you're focusing on helping people, because I feel your first foray into the entrepreneurial world was more of a selfish, how can I do something for me? And I'm not saying you were fully selfish. You were helping major businesses make those brands, but you're understanding how the world of entrepreneurship work. And then you had the injury where you went on that self journey where you understood, okay, I need to change and I want to help other people become better. And it's very interesting because there's having done close to 600 episodes now of this podcast, you start seeing a pattern that most entrepreneurs have in their life. They have the selfish, I'll call it the selfish period, where it's all about them. How can I make a living? How can I become a better version, right? And then there's a crisis, a moment, a change point where they start helping others. And when they start helping others, it's they're just giving everything away for free. They have zero compunction about not giving it away for free, because they're like, this is going to help someone. And I'm interested with your self journey of becoming a better version of yourself. Did you realize helping others or giving away your knowledge for free was something that was intrinsically inside one of your core values? Or was it something that you had to learn to become this version of yourself?
Yeah, really interesting question. And I look at it from 2 perspectives. If we think about it, the comment that I made of helping educate a prospect. So I'd always been giving information away for free because it was part of the sales process. Now it's reframed because it's about value and helping them become better or doing more. So I think it's more a case of shifting the approach and what that means to me. Now, yes, contribution is one of my core values. Before, it was there, and I do some charity stuff and other things, but it wasn't the core focus because I was trying to build a business. That was the core thing of how can I build something that's right for me? Now, again, it's almost switched on its head to say, how can I build something that supports others? I may want to put a frame around that so it still works for me because I'm looking for that freedom. So I don't want something that's going to suck up all of my time. Okay, great. So there are maybe some constraints or levers that I need to pull in terms of how I structure things. But the core essence now, yes, is very different. It's not a case of, can I build a business that's X size with X employees or any of those sorts of things? It's how can I help people? And if I help people in the right way, a lot of that, yes, may be free knowledge, going speaking at events, being on podcasts, whatever that may be. I know that ultimately that will come back to me in some beneficial form.
I love that. I love how you're planting those seeds for the shade that you're going to have in the future. That's how I like to look at when you're handing out information or you're giving away knowledge that you have accumulated. You're planting those seeds, and eventually some will grow into trees that will provide you with the shade, or as my good friend Lloyd Ross says, it grows your money tree. With everything you're doing, do you have maybe a story or testimonial, if you will? I hate using the word testimonial because it feels so forced, if you will. But something where a story where you've helped one of your clients, one of your female entrepreneurs, move through a big issue or an issue that was causing them much distress in their business so that they could get to the level that they wanted to, that you saw that they could be at.
Yeah, so I'll actually, rather than an end story, I'll give you a sort of middle story. So one of the clients that I have, she's a female gut health and nutrition coach. She was sick and tired of having to spend the time with the tech, which is obviously, it's like, that's my core thing. Look, I can do it for you. So we had that conversation. She was actually a referral in from one of my other coaching colleagues and sort of the masterminds that I've been part of. Sat down with her. Okay, let's understand the business. Let's understand what you want. Went and built it for her. So she now has structures in place, a sales funnel with all the automations. That means she can more easily move people through a process. She's seeing the return on that from a financial perspective, but it's also then not taking her time to understand how to do it or to build it or to tweak it, because that's all on me. So we're at that point where we've done sort of a phase one. So she's already seeing a financial return on that because of the way that we've structured things and what that offer is as part of her core business. Now we're looking at that phase two that says, okay, for all of those people who are in your ecosystem who didn't buy, what are we doing with them? How are we re-engaging them? How are we nurturing them to the next step? So it's an ongoing process. And this is why I work with clients. We can build all of these things. It's just tech. It's just systems. There's probably no point building it all at once because your business isn't ready for that. So let's start simple. Let's get the things that need to be in place, whether it's a welcome series, so people get to know you, you get the know, like, and trust factor. Maybe it's that first sales element to help you convert some people. Then we can build everything else out afterwards. So, we're in the middle of that journey with this lady right now. Everybody else is, again, starting phases because we're working out, okay, what's going to be the best fit for them based on their business case.
I like that. I like how you're taking an individual approach instead of just a wide brush and saying, okay, everybody does the same thing. No, each individual case, because like you said, some businesses could be ready for that influx of 7,000 people coming to pay you. Others are like, I'm not ready for 10 people to come in and pay me because it's an intensity.
But that's exactly it. And I've been asked the same question when I've been on calls. It's like, if I could give you an influx of clients tomorrow, what would you say? I'd be like, whoa, time out there. Actually, I'm not looking to scale that quickly because of the nature of the service. If I suddenly get an influx of clients, you're absolutely right. I can't manage them. I can't support them. There would be no point. So yeah, every business is different. And this is the thing that through all the consulting that I've done, whether it's been for those billion-dollar brands, whether it's been for governments, it's about understanding their objectives, the nature of their business and how it operates and how they want it to operate. And then you can design things. So I've always been that person who likes to design the systems and design them so that it meets those objectives and we get things fitting together rather than, cookie cutter saying, here it is, let's try and fit everything into it. Because it's like, well, that's not going to give you the outcome that you're looking for. it needs to be, okay, we may be using a system and it's a core platform, but if we do that, we need to ensure the platform that we select has enough flexibility that we can tweak it as we need to get the outcome that we want.
I love it. I love it. I love how you see the big picture, but you focus on those small little details that will help bring everybody, including yourself, to that big picture, that vision that they have for themselves. Speaking of the big picture and, focusing on the small, when you're investing in yourself, when you're looking to upgrade you, because you went through that with your injury, which was probably the universe saying, you need to slow down a bit. You're not as young as you used to be. Can't take those hits like the young version of you did. What have you done since then to continue that investing in yourself, to increase your value, if you will, of yourself, to be the best version of yourself?
So I've continually invested in myself from a mindset perspective. So I've done Unleash the Power Within Virtual with Tony Robbins. I've done Dean Graziosi's stuff. I've read other books, Alex Hormozy's stuff, entrepreneurship. Again, both of his books, great. I've dived into Russell Brunson. So I've always been a lifelong learner. So I'm always looking to pick up new things. So part of that is mindset. Part of that is business. So there are a couple of key people that I focus on because, again, I connect with them. Their style works for me. And I think this is a key message for entrepreneurs generally, is whatever it is that we are offering, whether it's ourselves or product and service, it will not be a fit for everyone. Once we understand and appreciate that, the journey becomes easier because we're also not trying to sell to everyone. We're trying to sell to the people that we're a good fit for. So there are coaches where it's like, don't like your style. Okay, I'll see you later. Right, I've now found the ones that, work for me. I understand their style. I understand their message. Great, I can lean into that a bit more. So I found those people. I've gone into their contents. I've taken that on board. So yes, some of it has helped with mindset. Some of it has helped with business. And so I'm, again, continuing that process and that journey. I invest in coaches myself. If I look at what I have right now, so I have a coach for LinkedIn. I have a coach helping me get more guest sessions on podcasts. I have a coach who is going to help me plan and relaunch my book next year. So it's like, I'm always looking at those opportunities to say, okay, what are the things that I want to focus on? Who can help me? And it's that key question that I now focus a lot more time on. Who, not how. Who can help me with the area that I want to focus on or the thing that I want to do? So some of those other conversations is collaborations. Okay, there's a who, right? Maybe we can collaborate on doing a live event or an online training or something. Okay, let's build that visibility and awareness. So yeah, I'm continuing to invest in myself in different areas because I know for the vision that I have of my life, I need to level up. So one of the goals is to have my own live events, do seminars and workshops based on the model and framework in my book, share some of the business insights. I know I need to level up in terms of being a public speaker. So maybe the next thing is a public speaking coach. It's like, okay, that's a step on the journey for where I want to go.
I love it. I love that. You're constantly looking where you want to go, who you need to be with. And it's not what you need, it's the who, because the who is the most important. Because if you can't gel, like we said, if you can't gel with the person, you're not going to be able to intake the best parts of that and use it for yourself. I want to talk about the future a bit because you've had an incredible journey so far. But if I snap my fingers and we're 10 years in the future, Philip, what are you doing? I know you wanted to be on stage, speaking events. That we probably are going to hit that probably within the next 2 years. I have a feeling because as a fellow Philip, we like to be in front of things and we do things somewhat quickly. But what are you doing in 10 years from now? How are you changed? Is the Freedom Hunter idea expanded into a global brand? What is Philip doing in 10 years from now?
Exactly that. So Freedom Hunters Club is built, is well established, it's recognized. So the whole ethos of being a freedom hunter and following that path to find the freedom that somebody wants in their life, whatever that looks like. That is established. Again, the teachings from the book, the 12 chains that hold us back, how to break free of them. Again, that's more recognized. I've built that community and that audience. And those teachings I can see are helping people, because that, again, the impact and contribution, that's the ultimate goal. So it's how many people can I support with that? The tech side, absolutely. That's a little different, because the tech side for the female coaches, that's capped at 100, because I want to actually put more time and energy into those people. So yes, the tech is the foundation stuff, but I also want to help them in other areas with the business, giving them those opportunities to promote themselves and grow their businesses outside of the tech. So there is a cap on that. So 10 years from now, it will be, we've reached that cap. We've been working with the same 100 people for 5-6 years. It's great. We've seen the impact that they are creating through the support, and then directly through the book, through the events, I can see my direct impact. And that, the Freedom Hunters Club and that whole ethos is a lot more established.
I like that. I like that vision you have for yourself in 10 years. And I have to say, having a hard cap for helping entrepreneurs, specifically female coaches, is a very interesting idea, because I haven't really heard a lot of entrepreneurs saying, this is the amount that I want to help. Like, I want to stay, my business is going to help 100 people. That's our hard cap. Was that something you decided on internally, or was that a piece of advice that you were given by one of your mentors, one of your coaches, to have a hard line where that's the level of my business, that's where I feel comfortable at?
Great question. And it's not from a mentor. It is an internal decision, but there are thoughts behind it. So I'll share those with you.
Please.
In some of the teachings, you'll probably had this yourself. It's like, think about scarcity and urgency, okay, as a core part of your messaging. Scarcity can come in very many forms. So I'm using that as, I will put a cap on, because then there is a level of scarcity. And it's an important distinction that this is my equivalent of a high ticket, because it's done for you. Low ticket, that knowledge sharing, making stuff available at a lower price point, that potentially is unlimited people in a community. Okay, so that's a very different type of structure. But for that high ticket, because of the nature of the service and the time and energy I want to put into those people, I made that conscious decision that says, this is where I want to get to. Also, because I know to support that, I'm still going to need to build a small team around me to be able to support those women. And I, as a freedom hunter, want to maintain the freedom of time. So I need to find that balance to say, I'm helping these people, but if I help more people, I potentially lose my own freedom. And then I'm actually a bit of a hypocrite, because I'm giving the message of freedom and I've got none. So I'm working that cap to be able to say, I think that's the point. If I build a small team around me, I can help those women have the impact that they want as coaches, and I can still maintain my freedom to go and do some of the other things to experience and explore.
I like that. I like how you're not getting blinded by the amount of money you can make if you have more clients. You're looking at it, I want to keep this freedom I have, since you are hunting it throughout your life, and you realize that, hey, if I want to go down that rich man ideal, I'll lose something that's so important to me, that freedom you have. I want to kind of get a piece of advice before we jump to near the end of the episode. If you could pass on a piece of advice to the audience about, because you seem to have found your core values, you found what's very important to you when it comes to business, when it comes to who you're helping, and that you've been able to figure it out over your journey. What advice could you give to the audience that are listening who may not be at that point in their journey of entrepreneurship to realize how important core values, like having that freedom, or who am I helping? What kind of advice could you give to them to help them realize and focus in on what's really important to them?
Good question. I think if I understand the context of the question, I would say spend the time deciding what is important to you, because it's different for everyone. You mentioned it. Do I want a 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, $100 million business or not? Do I want the time and freedom? Do I want to spend more time with family? And that was one of the interesting things for the research that I did for my book. I went out and asked people, and one of the biggest things that they would want in terms of change for their life would be to have more time with family. Now, if that's the case, what do you need to do to get there? Yes, you need to think about your business, but again, is there a growth level on that? Is there a type of product or service that you may need to launch if you haven't already that will help you get to that point? So it's about thinking, what is it that you really want? We can be entrepreneurs. We can build things for eternity. But if we don't understand what it is that we are trying to get to, we will just keep meandering. We will, and this is the biggest learning that I've taken myself from my journey, is a lot of the time I was doing stuff that wasn't aligned with what I wanted. Now I'm a lot more conscious, and the first exercise in the book is, what's the tail of your life? And tail is a 4-quadrant grid. So each letter corresponds to something. So time is the T. How do you want to spend your time? A, what activities do you want to do regularly? What fuels you? What lights you up? What brings you joy? Say for me, scuba diving is a great one. So I want to ensure that I've got time for scuba diving. L, location, where do we want to be? And E, what are those experiences that we have that may be just the one-offs in our life? How do we work towards those? So if we can keep certain things in mind, and that is an example of one. Others, yeah, maybe the size of business that we want, or the ability to contribute to charity. So we need to get our business to a certain size to be able to do that. It's keeping in mind what's important to us, because then that can help us with every decision we need to make.
I love that. That's a great piece of advice for people I love the tail, the time, activities, location,
Experiences.
Experience. I was going to go, what was I going to expectations, but no, it's the experience that you have. I love that. And have that as a quadrant so that you can map out what you're doing and how you can get there and be more focused. I'm definitely going to be trying that out, Philip, for that. But we're going to go back in time right now. We're going to go back to the 10-year-old Philip. He's standing right beside me. He's very amused that there's 2 Philips now. What piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self that either could help your 10-year-old self become a better version or faster version of where you are today, or just something that you wish you were given when you were 10 years old when you learned it now?
That's a really tough one to answer because of the journey that I've been on, because my immediate response was going to be like, follow your passion, because that's got you to the point where I am now. Because if I gave you any different advice, and obviously this is, multiverse, butterfly effect type thinking, it's like, if I give you any different advice, your journey will be different, and then I wouldn't be the person who stood here giving you the advice. So it's like, okay, yeah, what would I say to my 10-year-old self? Passion, yes, is one. Follow that, because that's the sort of thing that you will then engage with, you want to do more of, learn more of, and see where it goes. The other one from the business, the entrepreneurial side of me, focus on the lists, because I've had lists over the years and then I've burnt them because I've pivoted and done something different. So that is a key one, is like, just don't ditch them. They'll still have value. You may change direction. And then the other piece of advice would be, think about how you can monetize your skills and experience, because that's one of the things that I have been able to do in pockets, but it hasn't been consistent. So doing the live events in the early years, flipping the website, selling the advertising, okay, there's small amounts of revenue there, great. And then it was, I'm now doing campaigns and I'm doing projects and consultancy. Again, there are constraints on that. And it wasn't something where I could say, you know what, here's the thing that I can sell to 1 million people if I wanted to. That's where I've now got to. And Alex Hormozy's stuff is great for this, talking about that leverage. How can you create the assets that give you leverage? And that's what I'm now focusing on. The book, the courses, the community, the events, all those sorts of things that I'm now focusing on are because I want to have that leverage so that stuff doesn't take all of my time. So yeah, that would be a piece of advice I'd give to my 10-year-old self as well.
I love it. Great piece of advice, both for your 10-year-old version and someone just starting in the world of entrepreneurship. Follow your passion and realize how powerful leverage is. Phil, we are coming to the end of the episode, which sucks because I love talking with fellow Phillips. And you've been dropping bombs left, right, and center that's been blowing people's minds, especially mine. I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to talk to my audience and let them know where they can connect with you if they are a female entrepreneur, a female coach looking to have some help in those systems, or if they're just a regular entrepreneur looking for someone to, have as a mentor to help them down their journey. So the floor, sir, is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, the easiest places are Facebook and LinkedIn. So I have profiles on both of those. Those are the main channels where I create content and post. So just drop me a DM, have a conversation, see how I can help you, if I've got any resources or material that can support you, and we'll go from there.
I love it. Very simple, straight to the point, Philip. I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey and dropping so much wisdom over the last 40 odd minutes of us talking. So I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. Always good to get Phils together.
It is. Phil Squared, if you will. I think that's the name of the episode. But to my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below to connect with Phil. Not me, but Phil Wride. And make sure you talk with him to make sure that you can go to the next level of your business if you're looking for some help in that technology area, which seems to be changing on a daily sometimes. So I thank you so much for listening, Philip. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.